जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय प्रियजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिविराजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिविराजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासवती गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की गंगा माई यमुना माई की भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की समवेत भक्तवृंद की गौर प्रेमानंदे ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द सिंबल डिवोटीज ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द सिंबल डिवोटीज ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द सिंबल डिवोटीज ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्री गुरु एंड गौरंग ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्रील प्रभुपाद की ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances onto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, onto Naranarayan Rishi, the supermost human being, onto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and onto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी By regular attendance in the class of Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with the transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So today we are reading from verse number 5. Chapter 18. Canto 3, chapter 18, verse number 5. Tvai samstite gadaya shirna shirshani asmat bhuje bhuja chutaya ye cha tubhyam balim haranti rishayo ye cha devaha swayam sarve na bhavishyati amulaha tvayi samstiste gadaya shirna shirshani Tvayi samstite gadaya shirna shirshani asmad bhuja chutaya ye chatubhyam asmad bhuja chutaya chetatubhyam asmad bhuje chutaya che ye chatubhyam balim haranti rushayo che devaha balim haranti rishayo ye cha devaha swayam sarvena bhavishyanti amulaha swayam sarvena bhavishyanti amulaha Tvayi samstite gadaya shirna shirshani asmad bhuje chutaya ye chatubhyam balim haranti rishayo ye cha devaha swayam sarvena bhavishyanti amulaha Tvayi samstite gadaya shirna shirshani asmad bhuja chutaya ye chatubhyam balim haranti rushayo ye devaha swayam sarvana bhavishyanti amulaha Samsite gadaya shirna shirshani asmad bhuje chutaya che chatu balim haranti rishayo ye cha devaha swayam sarvena bhavishyanti amulaha Tvayi samsite gadaya shirna shirshani asmad bhuje chutaya ye chatubhyam varanti swayam sarvana bhavishyanti amulaha Tvayi samstite gadaya shirna shirshani Asmajabhute chatubhyam Haranti rishayo ye cha devaha Sayam sarvena bhavishanti amulaha. Mataji. Tvayi samsite gadaya shirna shirshani Asmad bhuje chutaya ye chatubhyam Balim haranti rishayo ye cha devaha Swayam sarvena bhavishanti amulaha. Synonyms. Tvayi, when you. Samstite, are killed. Gadaya, by the mace. Shirna, smashed. Shirshani, skull. Asmad bhuja, from my hand. Chutaya, released. Ye, those who. Cha, and. Tubhyam, to you. Balim, presentations. Haranti, offer. Rishayaha, sages. Ye, those who. Cha, and. Devaha, demigods. Swayam, automatically. Sarve, all. Na, not. Bhavishyanti, will exist. Amulaha, without roots. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The demon continued, when you fall dead with your skull smashed by the mace hurled by my arms, the demigods and sages who offer you oblations and sacrifice in devotional service will also automatically cease to exist, like trees without roots. You all can repeat together. The demon continued, when you fall dead with your skull smashed by the mace hurled by my arms, the demigods and sages who offer you oblations and sacrifice in devotional service will also automatically cease to exist, like trees without roots. Purport. Demons are very much disturbed when devotees worship the Lord in the prescribed ways recommended in the scriptures. In the Vedic scriptures, the neophyte devotees are advised to engage in 9 kinds of devotional service, such as to hear and chant the holy names of God, to remember Him always, to chant on the beats Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, to worship the Lord in the form of His deity incarnation in the temples, and to engage in various activities of Krishna consciousness to increase the number of godly persons for perfect peace in the world. Demons do not like such activity. They are always envious of God and His associate. Their propaganda, not to worship in the temple or church, but simply to make material advancement for satisfaction of the senses, is always current. The demon Hiranyaksha, upon seeing the Lord face to face, wanted to make a permanent solution by killing the personality of Godhead with his powerful mace. The example of an uprooted tree mentioned here by the demon is very significant. Devotees accept that God is the root of everything. Their example is that just as the stomach is the source of energy for all the limbs of the body, God is the original source of all energy manifested in the material and spiritual world. Therefore, as supplying the food to the stomach is a process to satisfy all the limbs of the body, Krishna consciousness or developing love of Krishna is a sublime method for satisfying the source of all happiness. The demon wants to uproot this source because if the root, God, were to be checked, the activities of the Lord and the devotees would automatically stop. The demon would very much satisfied by such a situation in the society. Demons are always anxious to have a godless society in their sense gratification. According to Sridhar Swami, this verse means that when the demon would be deprived of his mace by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not only the neophyte devotees but also the ancient sagacious devotees of the Lord would be very much satisfied. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासाति गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So welcome everyone to this Srimad Bhagavatam class, and I seek the blessings of all the devotees who have assembled here. So the current verse, the text number 5, so here the demon continued. When you fall dead with your skull smashed by the mace hurled by my arms, the demigods and sages who offer you oblations and sacrifice in devotional service will also automatically cease to exist, like trees without the roots. So these are some of the harsh words which are spoken by the demon Hiranyaksha addressing to the Lord Bore. The reason is because the Lord has challenged the authority of the demon Hiranyaksha over the planet Earth, which he was trying to destroy. The Hiranyaksha has actually dragged the earth to the bottom of the ocean, and then he was trying to destroy it. And the Lord, in order to save the planet Earth, has taken the form of the boar, and then he has appeared to protect the planet Earth. And that is the nature of the demons. The demons basically they derive pleasure by performing such destructive and demoniac activities. That's a basic reason, because anything what we do, any activity what we do, the essential reason is because to derive pleasure, correct? So either you eat something which is palatable, or you spend time with your friends or family. Essentially the reason why you're doing any activity what you're performing to do is because you derive pleasure from such activity, correct? Now but however, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita, this pleasure what you can derive can be either in the mode of goodness or in the mode of passion or ignorance. And this demon also derive pleasure in such activities, but in the mode of passion or in ignorance, whereas the demigods also perform activities but in the mode of goodness. So here similarly Hiranyaksha was deprived of his pleasure by the Lord, so he became angry at the Lord. And that is the difference between the demigods and the demons. Even the demigods also act for the sake of for their pleasure, but the difference is that demigods are someone who is obedient to the Lord. On the other hand, the demons, they neither care for the Lord nor for any Vedic, injunctions. So that is the key difference between the activities of the demigods and the activities of the demons. And in verse number 3 to 5, number 3, 4 and 5, so these three words are actually spoken by Hiranyaksha addressing the Lord, the Lord Bore. And these are some of the harsh words which are spoken by the demon addressing the Lord. In verse number 3, we see that Hiranyaksha explains why he thinks that he is entitled to this planet Earth and why his actions are justified. And in verse number 4, he explains, basically he accuses the Lord. By saying that the Lord is someone who is sent by his enemies to destroy him, and the Lord is no better than a mere magician or some mystic who would become invisible to kill the demons. And in today's verse, verse number 5, basically he threatens the Lord by saying that he would smash the skull by his mace. So, in this way, these three verses are spoken by Hiranyaksha addressing the Lord in a very disrespectful way. And we also all might have some experience, correct? Let's say when like two family members are fighting with each other, and let's say you interfere between them, correct, and trying to pacify the situation, the first thing they will tell you is that just stay out of it. This is none of your business, correct? And the second thing, let's say that if you keep on insisting on your interference, then the next thing what they would say is that they would blame you. They would point out your mistakes, and they would make false accusations on you. And ultimately they may even threaten you to smack you down. And that is what the Hiranyaksha is also trying to do here. In the verse number 3, basically, that's what he says. He basically says to the Lord that it is none of his business. And in the verse number 4, he would falsely accuse the Lord, that saying that, you are someone who was sent by my enemies, and you are just a mere magician. And in the verse number 5, he basically threatens the Lord, saying that, I'm going to just smash your skull by my mace. So same thing happened here also. That is why when you see sometimes when two people are fighting, you may see so many people like bystanders, but nobody will interfere, correct? So this is one of the reason. But of course, let's say that in the fight involves someone whom you care about, then you would definitely interfere. Doesn't matter what the other person says, because it involves someone whom you care. So similarly, the Lord being the well-wisher of everybody, including the demons, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam, the Lord is a benefactor of all the living entities, the Lord interferes. Even though the Hiranyaksha has been spoken these harsh words and very disrespectful words towards the Lord Bore, but the Lord didn't really care. So that's why sometimes we see people in the society, especially those people who are well respected in the family or well respected in the society, usually they don't like to get into the fight, correct? Because they are concerned that their reputation may get spoiled. Because when you get into the fight, that means that people are going to tell bad things about you, people are going to make some false accusations about you. But however, on the other hand, but the Lord being compassionate, despite the harsh words which are spoken by Hiranyaksha, he still tried to rescue the planet Earth. And that is the greatness of the Lord. On the other side, we see the demons, even though they present very logical, rational, and very intellectual arguments and trying to justify their demonic activities, but the problem is that the intelligence of such a demons is actually stolen by Maya. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Namam Duskritano Muda Prapadyante Naradama Maya Pritagnyana Asurim Bhava Mashrita. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among the mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. So the key word here is Maya Pritagnyana, means whose intelligence which is stolen by Maya. Be it the demons mentioned in this, in these Puranas, or the modern day scientists, or even the Mayavadis, all they are trying to do is basically to kill the God. Of course, one may be surprised to hear that why are the Mayavadis trying to kill the God? Because Mayavadis are someone who also read the Vedas, the scriptures, the Puranas, correct, etc. Then why are they trying to kill the God? So, if you see Prabhupada or even the previous Acharyas, one thing they never tolerated is the philosophy of Mayavada. They would tolerate many things, but they would never tolerate the philosophy of Mayavada, that you can become one with the God, correct? And in this connection, there was a story which was told by Vishwapriya Swami in 1997 in the Udupi Mata. They are the followers of Madhvacharya. Once upon a time, there was a king, and he had an elephant. And this elephant was very dear to the king, and then he would always spend a lot of time with this elephant. He would take care of this elephant very nicely, and he would engage all his servants in taking care of this elephant. And one day it so happened that this elephant was sick, and the king became very much concerned, and then he engaged the best of the best, physicians to recover the health of this elephant. And he would every day visit the elephant and make sure that elephant is, progressing in its health, and and elephant would hopefully one day come out of this sickness. And the king told to his ministers that whoever says that my elephant is dead, I'm gonna cut off that person's head. I don't want to hear the news that my elephant is dead, because the elephant is so dear to the king. And unfortunately, one day it so happened that elephant died out of its sickness. He couldn't recover from his sickness. And now everybody is concerned. Now who is going to who is going who is going to disclose this news to the king? Because whoever tells that the elephant is dead, the king will kill that person, correct? But however, there was one intelligent minister. He said that I will tell this news to the king. Don't worry. And then he went to the king and he said that, my dear king, I want to give you an update about about the elephant. The king said, yes, how is my elephant? And the minister said, the elephant is not moving its trunk. It's not moving the trunk. The king said, okay, it's not moving the trunk. And then the minister said, it is not moving the leg also. Then king thought, okay, maybe the elephant is very sick, so it is not moving the leg also. Then the minister said, it is not moving any part of the body. The king became very concerned now. Not moving any part of the body. Then finally the minister said, it is not breathing also. Not breathing. Oh, that means the elephant is dead, no? No, that you decide. I don't know, that you can decide. I'm just telling you that elephant is not moving and it is not breathing. Right? So this is what the Mayavadis also speak. The Mayavadis also say that the God has no form, and the God has no qualities, and the God has no activities. So indirectly, basically, they are trying to kill the God, but they cannot say it like that openly, because people won't agree, correct? So that is how the Mayavadis also, in this way, they are trying to kill the God. That is why it is stated in the Brahma Samhita, the Lord is Sachit Ananda Vigraha, correct? Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha, which means that the Krishna's transcendental body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is a person, that is why he is addressed as Vigraha, Sachit Ananda Vigraha. And the Lord has innumerable potencies. Parasha Shakti Vivideva Shruyate, means the Lord has unlimited names, forms, qualities, pastimes, etc. Means unlimited, means Ananta. And all these potencies of the Lord are not something which is acquired. It is not like the Lord has acquired these potencies at some point of time. Just like the mystic yogis, they acquire the mystic potencies by performing meditation. They acquire these mystic potencies. But the Lord's potencies are not like that. The Lord's potencies are not something which he has acquired, but they are of intrinsic in character. For example, the living entities. How do the living entities derive their energy? By eating food, correct? When you eat the food, you get energy. And once the food is digested, then again you feel hungry, that means that you are low in energy, correct? But, so in this way, that means that the energy of the living entity is something which is acquired. But the energies of the Lord are not like that. It is not something which is acquired at a certain point of time, and at a certain point of time he may lose it. So, just like for example, the soul has acquired this body during the time of birth, and at the time of death the soul gives up this body. So this body is just something which is acquired. So there's a point it has acquired, there's a point it's going to lose it also. So the potencies of the Lord are intrinsic in nature. They are not something which are acquired. And another nature of the Lord's potencies is that they are inconceivable. Means they are beyond the perception or the comprehension of the human mind. And even the demigods, who are many times more intelligent than the human beings, even they cannot fully comprehend the potencies of the Lord. And what to speak of the demons, who are not even favored by the Lord. So that is why when Hiranyaksha was trying to assess the position of the Lord before he fight, basically he miscalculated. Because he doesn't know the full potency of the Lord. He just thought that Lord is also one more powerful living entity whom we can fight and win upon. Correct? Because when you fight with someone who is equal, correct? You don't fight with someone who is too powerful because you may lose it, or you don't fight with someone who is too weak because it's obviously you're going to win. There is no fun in the fight, correct? So, in this way, Hiranyaksha he also thought that just Lord is just a magician or a mystic, or he's one more powerful person who can be defeated, but he does not know the full potency of the Lord. That is because he was under the influence of Maya, because the Maya, one of the potency of Maya is basically to cover the intelligence of a person. And in the Bhagavatam also, 3rd canto, 33rd chapter, verse number 3, Mother Devahuti also says to Lord Kapila that the Lord is the creator, maintainer and destroyer of cosmic manifestation, and he possesses innumerable energies which are inconceivable. Atmeshwaro Tarkasya Sahasra Shaktihi. Atma Ishvara means the Lord of all living entities. Atarkya means inconceivable. Sahasra, 1000. Shakti means possessing energies. So Mother Devahuti, after listening to these teachings of Lord Kapila, one of her concluding statements, that is where he says that the Lord is someone who has innumerable energies, and these energies are something which are inconceivable. So, and another quality of the Lord's potencies is it is beyond the logic. Means because logic is something how the human mind can understand things, correct? But however, because the Lord potencies are incomprehensible, that is beyond the logic. Because even the logic has its own limitations in understanding the Lord. That's why in the Ishopanishad it says, Tad ejati, tad naijati, tad dure, tad antike, means the Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away at the same time close. He's everywhere but he's outside of everything. So this looks like contradictory to the logic, because if something is near, how can it be far at the same time? Means if something is walking, how can it not walk at the same time? So the Lord's activities and the Lord's potencies are also like this. They are beyond the logic. And that is why the Lord can only be understood by Shabda. And one of the Brahma Sutras, it says, Shruteshu Shabda Mulavat Atmani Chaiva Vichitra Chaihi. Means the Lord is free from defects, can be understood only by Shabda, and variegated energies exist inherently in him, which are incomprehensible. That is why in one of the Shad Darshanas, its Nyaya is also one of the Shad Darshanas, means the process with which you understand the absolute reality. But however, it is said that this absolute reality cannot be fully understood by logic. That is why in the Vedanta philosophy, it is the highest regard is given to the Shabda Pramana more than the mere logic. But of course, when you are arguing with a Buddhist or atheist who doesn't agree to the Vedic authority, then the logic is the only tool what you have in arguing with those. So that is why logic also has its own role to play. But however, in understanding the absolute reality, logic has its own limitations. And in the commentary to this Brahma Sutra, Baladev Vidyabhushan commented on this word Shabda Mulavat, means he says that the knowledge of Brahman can be obtained only from scriptures. Therefore, we have no authority to consider them illogical when they describe paradoxical attributes within him. Since only the scriptures provide us with knowledge of Brahman, these descriptions of his inconceivable attributes must be accepted. This is not so completely mysterious. Even in this world, it is seen that certain gems and mantras produce supernatural effects resulting from inconceivable power. Because something is inexplicable or inconceivable does not mean that it should be dismissed as something which is impossible. So the example here given is that even in this material world, there are some mantras, like the mantras the snake charmer uses to subdue a snake, or sometimes the gems also, like gemology, because even the gems, it's said to have some mystic potencies. So when such a mundane objects in this material world have these incomprehensible potencies in them, then why not the Lord possesses these incomprehensible potencies in them? So that is that conclusion. So the conclusion is that the Lord is a person, he has unlimited variegated potencies, and these potencies are intrinsic in nature to the Lord, and they are beyond they are incomprehensible, and they are beyond the logic. And the another interesting fact about the potencies of the Lord is that the Lord possesses those potencies which are contradictory in nature, at the same time both which are contradictory in nature but ultimately take the refuge in the Lord itself. Like for example, the Lord has internal potency, correct? Swarup Shakti. And he also has an external potency called as Maya Shakti. This Swarup Shakti and Maya Shakti are actually having opposite characteristics. The characteristics of a Swarup Shakti is something which liberates. It's liberating in nature. And the characteristics of Maya Shakti is to bind the soul within within this material world. But however, even though this Swarup Shakti and Maya Shakti are both diametrically opposite, but both gets their support ultimately from the Bhagavan itself, correct? That is why when Vedavyasa had the darshan of the Lord, in the Bhagavatam, in the first canto, he mentions, Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Paranihate Male Apashayat Purusham Purnam Maya Chatat Apashrayam. Means he saw the absolute personality of Godhead along with the external energy which was under his full control. So the Lord is the master of both the internal energy and external energy, even though they are both conflicting in nature. That is why if you sometimes try to understand the other religions, the concept of God and concept of evil, they think that the God is different, evil is different, and sometimes the God fights with evil, sometimes the God wins, sometimes the evil wins, correct? But however, our understanding is that even the evil, basically, even the demons, they derive their ultimately their energy also from the Lord. Even the demigods also derive their energy from the Lord, and also the demons, they also derive strength from the Lord. In this way, the Lord is the ultimate shelter for everything. Because that is something which is very difficult to understand, but that is the nature of the Lord. He basically harmonizes opposing energies within himself. Because from our common understanding, when there is light, there cannot be darkness. Where there is vidya, there cannot be avidya. But however, the Lord can harmonize both. That is why Dhruva Maharaj in his prayers in the 4th canto, 9th chapter, 16th verse, he says, "My dear Lord, your impersonal manifestation of Brahman, there are always two opposing elements, knowledge and ignorance. Your multiple energies are continually manifest, but the impersonal Brahman, which is undivided, original, changeless, unlimited and blissful, is the cause of material creation." And basically, for the living entities, those who are suffering these three folds of miseries, due to the influence of the avidya or ignorance, the Lord only can extinguish those miseries by his internal potency or yoga maya. As it is said in the second verse in the Bhagavatam, Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam Tapta Tapatrayo Mulanam. This is also one of the Brahma Sutras, which means the highest truth is a reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. Vastava Vastu, which means a factual object or factual substance. Shivadam means well-being. Tapatraya means threefold miseries. Unmulana means causing to uproot. Tapatraya Mulana means he can uproot the threefold miseries. So, and we all know that there are three types of miseries. There is Adhyatmik, Adidaivik and Adibhautik. But of course, ultimately there is only one misery, which is Adhyatmik. That is something which is coming from your own mind, but we don't like to acknowledge that. So sometimes we blame others for our miseries. But ultimately, all the miseries is nothing but Adhyatmik. That is something which is coming from your own mind. That is why saintly persons, they're not affected by anything which is happening externally. It is said, Manayevahi Manushyanam Karanam Bandham Moksha Yoho. Because the mind is a cause for bondage and the mind is also a cause for the liberation. Atmahi Atmano Bandhur, Atmaiva Ripur Atmanha. So in this way, for those persons whose mind is a friend, as Krishna explains, the man must elevate himself by his own mind, not degrade himself. The mind is a friend of conditioned soul and his enemy as well. And ultimately, the Lord being the Manohara means the one who can attract the minds of everyone, can drive away all the miseries by attracting this mind towards him. And that is why people usually think that when they become rich, there will be no more problem. Correct? That's how the people think. But however, what people meant by that they can remove all their miseries by becoming rich is that they want to have more money. Correct? But if you try to understand this a little more carefully, money in itself doesn't have happiness in it. Correct? Because money is just a piece of paper. But what you really meant is that by having money, you're going to exchange that money with some objects, and when you acquire an object, you're going to get happiness. So that's what you meant to say. When you become rich, you're gonna be happy. Correct? But let's try to understand this a little more carefully. So every object, especially that which is actually of a dead matter, which is just an inert matter, every inert matter has its own intrinsic nature. Correct? Like for example, salt. What is the intrinsic nature of salt? It's to be salty. And what is the intrinsic nature of sugar? It is to be sweet. So every object has its own intrinsic nature, and by eating salt you cannot expect sweetness, and by eating sugar you cannot expect saltiness. Every object has its own intrinsic nature which it can offer you. But we are thinking that by acquiring this object we're going to be happy. But the intrinsic nature of an object is not, but the happiness is not the intrinsic nature of an object. Then how is it that you are thinking that by acquiring an object you're going to be happy? So ultimately it is not the object which is giving you happiness, but ultimately the happiness is something which is in your mind, nothing more than that. And you are thinking that by getting this object you're going to be happy. That is why even if you get an object, after some time you will still be miserable. Why? Because happiness is not the intrinsic nature of an object. Happiness is something which is in your mind. And as it is said here, the real object is basically Krishna. And he is the only one who can give you the ultimate happiness. He is the only one who can give you remove these threefold miseries. That is why in this verse he is addressed as Vastava Vastu. Vastava Vastu means he is the factual object. He is the real object. And this real object, Krishna, is having two qualities. What are those two qualities? Shivadam means well-being or auspiciousness, and Tapatraya Mulanam means he can remove the suffering. And by possessing Lord, by possessing Krishna, that is the ultimate solution for you to get happiness. Correct? Vastu means object. Vastava Vastu means actual factual object, because there can be two things. There can be Vastava Vastu or Avastava Vastu, means real object or imaginary or unreal object. This material world can be referred to as Avastava Vastu, means here everything is temporary, and Vastava Vastu means the Lord, the Vaikuntha planets, they are eternal and ever existing. So they are like Vastava Vastu. So of course there can be many more classifications you can make, like Vastava Vastu, Avastava Vastu, Vastava Avastu, and Vastava Vastu also. Like for example, what is Vastava Avastu? Means real but not existent. Like for example, you see a rope and you think that it is snake. It is real but actually it is not existent. So that is Vastava Avastu. And Avastava Vastu means basically it is neither real nor it is existing. Like for example, you imagine a rabbit with a horn. It is neither real nor existing. So ultimately the Lord is a Vastava Vastu, means he is a real and he is existing and he is a real object. And there is also a significance in using this word Vastava Vastu in this Brahma Sutras, especially which is selected in the Srimad Bhagavatam, because the Mayavadis usually think that the Lord is impersonal. I mean, he is not someone who is real. But by addressing him as a Vastava Vastu, what it means is that he is not someone who is imaginary, or he is not something which is impersonal, but Lord is something which he is a person. So in this way we can understand that how the Lord is the ultimate well-wisher of everyone, and who is compassionate towards all his living entities, and who is willing to save the planet despite the harsh words which is spoken by Hiranyaksha. And he alone is the Vastava Vastu who can uproot the threefold miseries and give you happiness. Yeah, thank you very much. Haribol. Any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, amazing class. I have a few things I wanted to reflect back, but just one thing is, you mentioned in the beginning about how Krishna need not acquire any Shakti or any energy, that the energy is already his, and it always has been and it always will be. So there's no need for Krishna to acquire any energy or any Shakti. So in regards to the Krishna's desire and how it's stated quite often, that the one thing that Krishna cannot get without help or without being given is the love of the jivas, is love. So just trying to reconcile that in my mind. Krishna doesn't have to acquire anything himself. Everything is already his. Yet he also can he? I mean, it would seem that he would be able to acquire the love of the jivas. There would be no need for him to acquire the love of the jivas. It's already his. So, can you help me reconcile that?
Okay, I will try to answer, but maybe others also can add on some to it. Because even though everything is coming from Krishna, everything is Krishna, and everybody is depending upon Krishna's energy, potency, correct? Even the demons also getting their strength from Krishna, correct? Even an atheist, when he's trying to say that the God doesn't exist, even the God, even for him, even for an atheist who's trying to argue, even for him the intelligence is provided by Krishna, correct? So, but however, then you can even, if you apply the same argument here, then why is Krishna giving this energy to the demons who are acting against the will of Krishna? That is because Krishna also, even though he is the basis for everything, even though he is a support for everything, at the same time he also respects the individual's independence for the jiva. And Krishna expects the jivas to reciprocate voluntarily, not like in a forcible way. So in that way, even though the living entities, the reciprocation is there, I mean, and Krishna would rather choose it to be a voluntary thing rather than just force it from the jiva. So in that way, even though Krishna is ultimately, it is his, the jivas are also his, but because of this independence which even Krishna is trying to accommodate, so we can see such apparent contradiction. And maybe Devaratha Prabhu can further add to that, I guess, if you don't.
Just real quick, I was just thinking, just in terms of that, it seems that there would, if he's already owns everything, it's not that he has to force the love out of the jivas. He already owns all of the energy, so there's no need for him to force the jivas to love him. And to acquire that, he already has the love. He already has whatever Shakti
he has
is.
it, but we don't have it. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I was thinking is that Rupa Goswami describes how Krishna is Akila Rasamrita Murti, which means he's a reservoir of all rasa.
Yeah.
And so he's actually experiencing the exchange of love already with his most infinite associates and devotees. But it's for us to benefit that he's concerned.
Exactly. Yeah. Maharaj wants to make a point.
Just one short point, and that is Krishna, as you've mentioned, he has everything. He needs nothing, but he gets special pleasure out of sharing what he has with as many of his devotees or even non-devotees. He likes to share because when he shares himself, they become better or higher or greater or more perfect. And he likes seeing the devotees becoming better and better. For that reason, he comes to bring what he knows and share it. So that's Krishna's nature, to share and not merely hold, otherwise he doesn't have to come here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Granta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Bhagavad ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare